When you assign a variable a value, JavaScript engine, V8 perhaps, depends on your browser, must determine whether this value is a primitive value or reference value, which is a type of object. The main difference between primitive value and the reference value is primitive types are passed by value, meaning they're copied each time their value is used. This means the original value isn't affected if it is referenced in a function. In other words, the variable that stores a primitive value is accessed by value, object is passed by reference, meaning the object's value is used through a reference and will be affected by a function if it is used. Only object is the reference type. When you assign a variable that stores a primitive value to another, the value stored in the variable is created and copied into the new variable. If you want to understand primitive value, check video, will appear now. Reference value. Only object as data type as a reference value. When you assign a reference value from one variable to another, the value stored in the variable is also copied into the location of the new variable. The difference is that the values stored in both variables now are the address of the actual object stored in the heap. As a result, both variables are pointing to the same object. Consider the following example. First, let's create a variable named reference object that holds an object with name as its property and the value of it is flop-floppian. Demonstrate the difference between reference values and primitive values by doing the same steps as we did with primitive value above. Assign value of reference object in this case as an object to the new variable, another object. Then, assign another object property to the new cool name by using dot notation. Then print out the name of reference object property. Because of both reference object and another object are pointing to the same object, therefore, the change is also reflected if you access the object using the reference object variable. In this case, the name had been changed to puppy butthole. What is the output, can you guess? We're expecting it will return true because those values look exactly the same, right? However, the result is false. Why? Because the array is an object. And when comparing objects, we compare their reference value, rather than the actual objects. So in this case, prime number 1 when compared with prime number 2 will return false because they point to the different object locations. The result will return true if only those variables refer to the same object. The first variable is the first list of prime numbers, the second variable is the second list of prime numbers, which are always distinct. The comparison will evaluate to true if two objects point to the same object. Then assign the value of to another variable. Now two variables are pointing to the same reference, which is 50, and now they are pointing to the same object. Therefore, true will return if we doing a comparison of two variables those point to the same object. We've learned about some important concepts in JavaScript, primitive value and reference value. A primitive value is a value that when you manipulate its value, you are working on the actual value stored in the variable. If we assign its value to the another variable, it will create the copy of the initialized value then assign it. They don't have the relationship to each other, so change the value of the second one not affecting the first one and vice versa. The object is a reference type. If we assign this object to another object then manipulate the value of any, so they are the same because they are being pointed to the same object and the comparison between the two objects will return true. In the end, please like and subscribe. Good luck.